Welcome to Inside Unmanned Systems, Autonomous Media's Get Inside the Future podcast. We're here in Orlando at the Xponential, last day of Xponential, by the way, and we've had a lot of interesting discussions. And with us today are two gentlemen that we know and we've covered a couple of times and they are known worldwide for their high quality engineering from Germany. I have Mr. Phillipp Volz from Volz, and I have Mark Juhrig, who is the Chief Technology Officer from Volz. Gentlemen, we are delighted to have you. Thank you
for having us.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, Richard, thank you for having us here.
Yes, it's nice to see you. So last time that we covered you, we were talking about high altitude applications of very challenging operational requirements in which we were using very low temperature tolerant sensors and actuators, servos, as the Germans use the term. And fast forward, it's now Xponential a year and a half later. And what's been your primary kind of messaging to this community and from what I see, lots of kind of new UAS manufacturers and new entrants, some new faces and some old friends. So tell us about your key message, kind of what's important right now. We were talking earlier about certification, and let's share with our audience some of your thoughts on this subject.
Mm-hmm. So, as you mentioned, certification became like the biggest topic for us in the last years, as we're like, not only supplying our servos to the UAV business, but also to the growing AAM sector. So, if you look at the AAM index, for example, it's like half of them are flying with our servos. And we were questioning ourselves like 2 years ago, how can we maintain all these relationships beyond the prototype stage, where it's gonna go to certification, what we were not capable of. So a year ago, we acquired Aircraft Electronic Engineering. It's an avionic company based in Bavaria. So it's an EASA certified design, production and maintenance organization, which now is enabling us to develop certifiable actuators, but also produce and maintain those. Yeah, we were recently awarded by a huge American company to do the first development of a fully certifiable actuator, probably to dial B, but might also go to dial A, so it's still a TBD. So we think and we feel, and what we get from our customer, that certification is like the future requirement, not only in the AAM sector, but also in like the delivery drones we're in, flying in civil airspace. So that's also now more and more a topic for our smaller servos.
Sure. And we're starting to see more and more kind of penetration on last mile delivery, as an example.
Right.
And ultimately, most people believe there will be type certification requirements, almost certainly, because as General Poss, who's one of our columnists in Inside Unmanned Systems, always says, drones are aircraft. So the standards by which they need to be measured in terms of safety and certification is pretty evident. So the acquisition that you did in last year, how will that specifically help you advance that type certification to both the advanced air mobility market, which we understand is now in kind of prototype, but nonetheless, these R&D platforms do exist. We know many corollaries in autonomous ground vehicles where they were focused simply on a research and R&D platform, and then suddenly their business exploded. I expect the same thing will happen perhaps when we add the Z axis. So tell me more about the acquisition, and given that level of investment that you've made, how does that uniquely position Volz to address the future needs of your customers and the market?
I can answer the first question. So one
Please.
very important topic is actually to speak the language of the customer. So most companies from this new AAM market, they basically hire people that are coming from that worked on projects for certified like CS25 vehicles, stuff like that, and they speak their own language. I mean, because they speak with EASA and FAA, and so it's a language by itself. And if you don't speak that language, it's very difficult to kind of win a project in the first place, because if you've never been in such a development environment, it's really impossible. So the acquisition of AE really helped with that.
Great.
Because now we have people that worked in the same framework. And so with like the delivery drone project is a different thing, because they have to learn the language, and we can help our customers basically working in such an environment. So I think for the AM market, it's kind of a prerequisite that you speak that language, and it helps a lot with keeping the relationship with customers that need to be advancing into that framework, so to speak.
And on our main market, like we've been doing servos for like 40 years. We really understand what our customers require, being defense customers or commercial customers. And now, I mean, like we are the only company in this area with the certification capabilities. So we now know what the customer wants. We already have the technology, and it's now we are capable of giving it to our customers also in our main industry, which is like the unmanned aerial vehicle market.
Yeah. So very specifically, we're talking about type certification of actuators, of servos, and
it's actually the actuators are very likely in most of the projects will be type certificated as a part of the vehicle.
Exactly.
Because building actually an actuator by itself with like a TSO or a European ETSO is very tricky, because the specification for that is now a combined specification which combines the autopilot and the actuator.
Got it.
So it's a little bit more tricky, but it will always be certified as part of the
Understood.
vehicle.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
So it's part of that ecosystem, that subsystem, and the reality is that certification is necessary to ensure a level of safety by either EASA in the case of Europe or in the case of FAA, and our readership. We've got deep readership from inside GNSS because it's positioning, navigation, and timing. They're all aviators. They're all navigators. That's kind of where we came from. So ICAO is a really kind of an important role there in terms of setting the standard. So it's really impressive to hear that you've taken the initiative to kind of get out in front of that and deliver, a servo that's going to be, part of that type certification, and then also to be able to educate your other partners and downstream customers, both current and future, on those requirements, because it's not well understood outside the civil aviation communities and military, right?
Yeah, definitely. So there's certainly still a lot to learn. I mean, on our side, but the acquisition really helped with that. So, and I mean, from our daily, just our conversation with companies that are actually coming from the type certification side, you can really tell that speaking the same language is kind of really key to success there.
Yeah, exactly. So your servos are well proven, well distributed. You got very significant market share in all key kind of user communities, and now as you see, what do you see are the tailwinds of further growth? Is it smaller UAS, last mile delivery, your current customers, everybody here seems to be kind of in a flourishing mode. There's been some merger and acquisition. There's been some fallout. I think there's been some consolidation and some real, and necessarily so. And I think there's some real efficiencies that have been gained. Where are you seeing the growth in the non-AAM types of user communities? What do you see,
like
Philip?
definitely in the cargo sector, from small deliveries to huge delivery drones like Pipistrel, for example. So I think that will be our biggest market in the future. Like volume-wise, probably it's the smaller packages, 3-4 poundish. That's probably going to be a huge amount of servos, but there's also a huge market on the bigger side of things. Or the Bell app program, for example, all these projects in the cargo industry. I think that's going to be the biggest market.
Yeah, there's some of our colleagues that believe that there will be the very large cargo, intercontinental type of and coast to coast, intercoastal. DHL and FedEx and UPS will be probably very early adopters, and we all know the manufacturers who make those airframes right now, and I think when the time is right, they will go in and kind of own that space, right? So what about you, Mark? What are you seeing as other opportunities and likely user communities that may stimulate some demand that maybe aren't so obvious?
Well, there's also huge manufacturing plants they are basically literally square miles of plants, and they also see that opportunity to kind of bring stuff from A to B, because just bringing on the road is kind of a logistical problem. So there's also customers that they basically have their own airspace because they can do whatever they want on their premises, and if they just stay within, let's say, if they don't exceed a certain altitude. But bringing stuff from A to B on a huge factory premises is also, I think, a future market.
Offshore platforms.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Oil and gas market has not been happy with the price of oil in the last 4 or 5 years. We do a lot of work on dynamic positioning, those offshore vehicles and the dynamic positioning systems that ensure, talk about a safety critical application, right? But lately it's been a complete change, lots of action and activity offshore. If you can help deliver a more effective solution to transport both labor and materials to those platforms in the North Sea and the Gulf of Mexico and Singapore, that is a very, very strong business case to be made. Do you have any that you are currently working with right now, or that you can talk about? That's always part of the problem with Volz. We are challenged that their coolest applications and use cases we can't talk about. So
the Bell app program is one of the few in this market we can talk about.
Excellent. Tell us about it, please.
It's like a wide range of different kind of sizes of vehicles which can carry small cargo to big cargo, but it's not designed or developed to be delivering stuff in the civil airspace.
Yeah.
It's just the use case Mark pointed out, and I don't know.
No, I think that, look, that's an important observation. Why? Because you have flight hours. You've got flight hours, you have experience, you've got expertise, you've got proof of concept. So we're doing that. Okay, so we're flying out to out of Aberdeen, Scotland, right, for 100 kilometers. Yeah, but that's a proof of concept that you can then say, we've done it here. We can certainly do it within this classified airspace, no matter what type of air certification kind of requirements. I also see a potential way forward for you also in terms of there's lots of companies that are currently getting COAs and are getting waivers under the 107 who can actually fly And so I think you're going to see more and more of that. So we're going to see more and more use cases. So please let us know when you've got other users that we can talk about.
We will.
Please, yeah. But back to and so let's kind of wrap this up from where we began. The advanced air mobility or urban air mobility, it became a term of art, and then it's advanced air mobility, and so we put flying cars on our magazine cover, I think 5 years ago, and people thought I was crazy, and we did a cover feature on UAM 2 years ago, and it's one of those kind of out there in the future types of applications that we all know are going to happen. When it happens, hard to know, but it must be gratifying for Volz to play a part in enabling the safe integration of UAS into the national airspace and the airspace in all over Europe. And be one of the enabling technologies that drives that, right? Yeah. How has it been? And clearly, you work in an ecosystem of other suppliers who need to bring to bear the best and the kind of best in class in terms of safety and performance and reliability and support, right? So, can you talk a little bit about that collaboration and your experience of collaboration and the kind of the spirit of collaboration that we know, covering you, that exists at Volz? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the thing is actually the collaboration with an AAM customer is actually really about the safety case. So because in the end there is I'd say 4 critical components. One is the airframe, and it's how it works. Then there is propulsion. Yep. There's the actuators, and there's the flight control computer. And all those 4 elements, they need to, you need to architect a safety case that is actually complying with the regulations, if it's FAA regulations or EASA regulations, which are pretty close. There are subtle differences, but they are basically getting closer to each other. So working on that basically big fault tree and safety case, that's the key thing. So you cannot just say, okay, I have an actuator that will suit your needs. It's not going to happen. It's basically that you basically have to demonstrate that you are capable of developing, producing such a thing, and then work with the customer on the actual architecture to in the end yield a vehicle that is certifiable, producible, economical, everything. Yeah.
And the great thing about it is that it has never been done before. So we, as being like a small German company, we now have the chance to really write aviation history, I would say, which is a great thing to be on, to create this.
Rewriting aviation history, and no doubt, and I entirely agree. And what an amazing opportunity we as an industry have together to deliver those kind of new air mobility capabilities to move people and products and services, from vertiports to aircraft. We're redefining fundamentals of transportation and human mobility. That is a big responsibility. So I saw it, as I said, on the autonomous vehicles, autonomous cars 5 years ago, where it was the R&D platforms. But when you think about the development cycle and the design cycle, and then you have to be spec'd into the solution, then they have to build it, then they have to test it, then they have to certify it. It's a long haul, isn't it? And it sounds to me that you have made the investment to make sure that Volz was going to play a really important role in that. So congratulations, gentlemen. It's been It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, Richard.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you sometime soon in Offenbach.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Richard, for having us here.
Yes, so
It was a
we are
pleasure.
here. Yes, so I want to thank both Mark Juhrig, Chief Technology Officer, and Principal Chief Executive Officer Phillipp Volz of Volz Servos of Offenbach, Germany. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank
You're
you.
more than welcome.
All right,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.